I don't know about you, but I can't wait for 5.3 to be released, because it seems like we're about to get so much lore, so many questions will finally be answered that this might end up being one of the most important arc and quests since the beginning of this game. But first, this is a theory video and leaks are prohibited in the comment section. I will use information available in the game, but my theories and conclusions are not to be considered the official lore of the game, unless I got something right and it's confirmed in a later update of the game itself. This video is a very short one because I'll focus only on Natlan, so I won't be talking about Lantern Rite. Well then, put on your helmet and let's get this video started. First of all, it seems that my theories about Capitano carrying the souls of his soldiers and their sacrifice to help Xilonen were right. In the trailer, we saw Capitano telling the souls of his soldiers that he will deliver them to the afterlife, the ley lines, just as he promised them in the past. I think that when the curse began to affect Capitano's soldiers, either physically or mentally or actually both, Capitano extracted their souls to save them from this suffering, while looking for a way to send them back to the normal cycle of life and death, because the curse essentially prevents souls from going back to the ley lines. People are doomed to live a painful quote-unquote life until their souls are eventually completely eroded and disappear entirely. Capitano was able to save his soldiers either because he learned the Masters of the Night Wind's techniques, or because Aizu, the chief of the tribe from 500 years ago, did it himself. In the trailer then, we see Citlali, Xilonen and the Traveler near one of the Shadow Pins, performing some kind of ritual now that the Traveler finally got his ancient name, and we see that they are surrounded by a group of souls that later we see running toward them. I believe that those souls are the same ones from before, they're Capitano's soldiers, and using Yohoaltekuhtin's analogy, they probably sacrificed themselves to become the outer shell for the seed that the ancient name is. Now, when it comes to the Traveler's ancient name, it doesn't seem to have a name on it, since it usually shows on both sides of the obsidian plume, which means that this scene from the trailer showed us the moment right before the ancient name was completed, when Xilonen would have used her life to put the letters on it, activating it for the first time. That being said, I think another one of my theories was also right, and it has to do with this ancient name and the Pyro Traveler. In one of my videos, I said that the Traveler receives the element of a nation because he can extract memories from the statues of the Seven, and it's not just a theory since the Traveler's Stella Fortuna is actually called Memory. This also led me to think that the statues of the Seven may simply be sculpted petrified Irminsul trees like the ones from the domains, since the artifacts we get from them are basically condensed memories. With Natlan's ley lines being severed by Xuquatl millennia ago, the Traveler couldn't extract any kind of memory from the statue, because the memories of Natlan are stored in the Night Kingdom, which I think, now more than ever, is an entirely independent system that mimics the ley lines, so it's not actually connected to them. Aquaria also said that the Traveler will receive the Pyro element in a very special moment, which will mark a critical turning point in the story. This moment is gonna happen in the Night Kingdom as the Traveler is fighting against the Abyss, specifically when Gosoyothoth turned into the Lord of Eroded Primal Fire, because in the beginning Aether is still using Hydro, and then we see him wielding Pyro, so something will happen during the fight and he will receive this new element, but only thanks to the fact that he now has an ancient name. Because he is now connected to the Night Kingdom, he finally acquired the ability to extract those memories he needed to acquire Pyro. Very interesting is also what Aquaria almost said, especially because I know some of you didn't play the Tribe's Chronicles. Those materials called Blazing Flint Ore are indeed very important to the Pyro Traveler. They will strengthen the Traveler, so considering that we received them by helping out the tribes that make Natlan what it is, then maybe they'll actually turn out to be the Natlanese Stella Fortuna or memories for the Traveler, his constellation basically, which is, at the end of the day, what makes the Traveler stronger. When it comes to the fight against the Abyss, Paimon will actually stay on the surface, and I can't wait to see what kind of tantrums she'll throw because of it, since it'll be essential for my future Paimon Sussman video. Of course, the entire fight will take place into the Night Kingdom, as we've known since 5.1, but the section we're going to, the deepest part of the Night Kingdom that has been entirely taken over by the Abyss, is so contaminated that even Mavuika and the Traveler's resistance to abyssal corrosion might not be enough if they spend too long in that area. we will eventually find Gosoyothoth, the huge weird circular thing, on top of a platform above a strange floating rock formation filled with abyssal energy, the pink stuff or smoke that we also saw in Natlan. In the trailer, we hear a voice telling someone to become someone's servant and to kneel before this reducted someone. This voice is the same as the Lord of Eroded Primal Fire we'll see in a second, so I guess it's Gosoyothoth's voice. Who is it talking to? That's hard to say. We could think it was trying to talk Mavuika and the Traveler into submission to the true ruler of the Abyss, but considering it will mimic Xucoatl, this might be something the Dragon Sovereign said in the past, and Gosoyothoth was simply extracting and using his memories. Next, we see both Mavuika and the Traveler fighting Gosoyothoth, which is still that weird circle, while on the surface everybody is getting ready to sing the Ode of Resurrection. This makes me think that they defeated Gosoyothoth, the circle thing, so they were ready to be taken back to the surface, but something happened. We hear Yokwaltekutin desperately repeating the word failure, and then the sacred flame simply went out. This is, I think, when Gosoyothoth transformed into Xucoatl, and as such, it obtained the ability to wield the sacred flame, the primal fire that once belonged to the Dragon Sovereign, reason why the Lord of the Eroded Primal Fire is wielding a half-corrupted sacred flame sword. That sword is the sacred flame it stole from the stadium to fight against Mavuika and the Traveler. This fight is gonna be one of the hardest ones ever, I think. I mean, even the player who was using the Traveler for the demonstration got wiped out with that attack from the sky. That's definitely not reassuring, like at all. Of course, they will eventually win the fight, that's more than obvious, but how Mavuika is gonna be saved, that's still very unknown, and we didn't even get any kind of hint about it. The fact that the devs completely skipped any kind of information about Capitano is really worrying, since one of my theories is that he will take her place. He will pay the debt to Ronova for her, sacrificing himself so that Natlan and the whole world would have a hope for the future. At the same time, having Capitano die will be a massive economic loss for the game, because I'm more than certain that he would sell better than basically any character that has been released so far. Come on, please give us Capitano. Let's have him confront Ronova, since she's the one who placed the curse on Caria in the first place. Maybe we can even learn why she did it and what the curse really is about. Anyway, we know that someone will have to die in this Archon quest, because the title is Incandescent Ode of Resurrection, and there would be no ode to be sung if there's no one that needs to come back to life. Is Mavuika being brought back to life, or is it the Traveler? I honestly can't decide which one it's gonna be, so I'll leave it to you. If it's the Traveler though, that might come with a set of problems, namely him not being part of Teyvat because he's a descender, so being brought back to life might mean becoming part of the world, being reborn in Teyvat. Could it be that this is also what happened to Lumine? At the end of the trailer, we see Mavuika once again walking on a spirit way. She does walk a lot, it seems. She is going toward a building with a set of stairs leading to another building in the back where the sun is basically behind a throne. Is that throne what I think it is? Are we finally seeing a divine throne? When it comes to what we hear while she's walking, that's a completely different story. The angry man we hear is Xbalanque, since it's the same voice from the 5.1 Archon quest. And back then he also used Nanji, an archaic word for you, to address Ronova. In the trailer, he is harshly reprimanding someone, talking about how valuable a descender's life actually is, and how this someone destroyed the world's hope with their hands. So we might instinctively think he's reprimanding Mavuika because the Traveler might have died against Gosoyothoth. But as it happened many times in the past, what we hear isn't necessarily what it seems to mean. This might simply be another memory that Mavuika received when she became the Archon, so we might be hearing something Xbalanque told someone else in the past. And considering when Xbalanque was alive, the descender he's referring to would be the third descender, the one who came to Teyvat before the Archon War. If that's the case, then Xbalanque might have learned what Ronova did in the past. She might have been responsible for the third descender's death, so she's the one he's yelling at. The Heavenly Principles and Xbalanque's disappointment in her might be the reason why she said, because that's her voice, that she has no interest in the fate of this land anymore. Lastly, we know Mavuika is trying to break a cycle in Natlan, but the Abyss invasion doesn't really look like one. It's just a protracted war against the Abyss that randomly attacks the nation. So which cycle is she talking about? Well, we've seen that the 6 heroes always die without coming back to life to fuel the sacred flame, so that the Archon like Xbalanque, the Scarlet-Eyed Youth and also Mavuika could enter the sacred flame and come back to life when Natlan is about to be destroyed. So this might be the cycle Mavuika is trying to break. When Mavuika originally devised the plan, she probably didn't know about this cycle, but when she entered the sacred flame for the first time, she learned the truth about Natlan and the fate imposed on it. So the heroes of the present were probably meant to fight and die in the Abyss in 5.3, so that the sacrifice would have allowed Mavuika to go back to the Sacred Flame and come back to life again and again. But with the Traveler, someone who can challenge fate, she now has a chance at freeing Natlan and those 6 heroes from this unending cycle of death and rebirth. Now everything I skipped from the trailer belongs to Mavuika and Citlali's story quests. They didn't tell us a lot about Mavuika's story quest apart from the fact that Citlali will deliver a message to the Traveler that she received in a dream, which might be Yoko Taikuti's doing since that's her modus operandi, and when Mavuika finds out about it, she will come in person to deal with it. There's also a weird cuckoo sword that keeps repeating Kyodai Magica yo, which means seriously sibling, while talking to Ahau, which is gonna be pure madness. Anyway, what we actually know about this quest is that there will be a new kind of pilgrimage now that Natlan doesn't need to pick heroes to fight against the Abyss in the Night Wardens anymore. When it comes to Citlali instead, we will learn what memories and history mean from her perspective since she's 200 years old, but we will also learn stories from her past. In the story quest, she will go into a domain with multiple colored floating platforms, corrupted tapestry source for some reason, but also a huge stone device with something that looks like a bubble world in the middle, showing some mountains, one of which has a floating section that looks like a moon, which reminds me of Natlan actually. I wanna say that the word inside the bubble is Marijivari, since she's the one who told us the most about it so far, but it's supposed to be in the unreleased section of the Volcano of Tolan, so it might not be happening, although in Fontaine we visited the Natzisenkreuz Ordo in 4.0, despite it actually being in the Tower of Epsissimus that was released in 4.2. Interestingly, Citlali talks about true loneliness caused by the knowledge of having been abandoned by the world. Since the Masters of the Nightwind's Chronicles began with Tlapopos Tzitzetl picking the Traveler to be the new Scroll Weaver, and we learn about Witzlin but also something more about Kuntur, Citlali might have been talking about or to one of them, and between the two, Kuntur seems to fit the description a little better, since he was abandoned by the sun. If that's the case, let's remember that Kuntur's mother was Hoyor, who might have been a Seelie. So this story quest might actually explain what Citlali actually is, and I still think that she's half human and half Seelie. And that's it, I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and if you're interested in Genshin Impact Theory videos, consider subscribing. This is of course the last video of the year, so it's finally time to relax a little bit, if only for a few days. Well then, thank you so much for watching, I wish you happy holidays, and until next year, over and out.